This is part of the new infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the Cadillac Escalade. Now, I say part of it because you've got this main screen in the middle. Just underneath, you've got a little climate control section that has a series of other controls, fully digital cluster screen, and then all on the outside, there's also a passenger screen too, where the passenger would be able to watch videos and things like that. And it also kind of blocks things off as you're driving, so the driver can't look over and see what's going on. So there's a lot to know about what's going on inside of the new generation Cadillacs. So let's dive in and I'll show you everything that you need to know. First thing, you've got your trip counter along the outside there, which is locked into place. To a degree, you can customize that, which I'll show you as we go. You've got your current outside temperature, your current time, and then your basic icon layout. Along the very bottom of the screen, you can see a series of different icons. So the left two are completely locked into place, so there's no customizing them whatsoever. The other four can be customized, so you can just do a drag and flip if you wanted to get rid of it, and then you can choose the majority of the options here. So maybe you wanted a hot button push for your trailering, you can add that in. You can also customize the icon layout. So if you do a push and hold, that's going to loosen it, and then you can drag it around, even onto the opposite page, or the next page over, I should say, in order to create that perfect setup for you. Now, you might notice as I go through that I'm moving using the screen, but you also might notice that I start to move around without actually touching the screen. And that's because just underneath this lower infotainment system, you have a series of other buttons. So you've got one specifically for your volume, so you can push into mute and then adjust your volume out this way. You've also got a basic back button. There's a home button that brings you back to the home page there. There's a button press to get to your media, and then one for navigation. And then you've got this big dial in the middle that you can use in order to navigate through the screen. So you're just rotating, and then it acts as a giant button too. So if you just push, that essentially acts as an OK button there. So you might notice that I go through the screen with touching the screen here, or it's moving around, and that's the reason why. Now, a few other things to point out. Along the very bottom, you've got the little icon there that says D. So that one there is going to be for all of your driver profiles. The benefit there, if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, it's going to remember any addresses, any phones you've got set up, your presets and things like that. So if you've got multiple people driving, you definitely want to go that route. And there's one other thing for security that you can do. If you tap on Manage Profile, you've got your profile info where you can look at all of your profile details, but you can go to security, which is going to let you enter in a PIN for either a pattern PIN or a password for your individual profile. So people can't just look through all of your information. So useful. You can also lock, unlock with your phone on top of that. So I said multiple people driving, but I'd recommend, even if it's just you driving, set up that pattern PIN or a password so people can't just look through your settings, previously search for addresses and things like that. And there's this button. I forgot to point that one out. So you see this little feller. That one is actually for your glove box, because down low, there's no button or toggle or anything in order to open up that box. So all you got to do, button push in order to get inside. But let's dive into the main screen elements here. So first one is going to be your vehicle status. You've got your maintenance gauges and your trip information. So you've got your tire pressure, brake life, etc. But you've got this outer part where you can add this into the driver display or remove it just to get the current date. And that's the same thing for a number of things. If you want your maintenance information, if you want your different gauges there, if you want your trip counters there, you can move through, add to the display, and then you can reset trip counter 1 or trip counter 2. So trip counter 1, haven't gotten the best economy because I've been pushing it a little bit and a lot of city driving. And then you've got your overall counter along the bottom. Pretty simple. You've got all of your different trip information, fuel economy, etc. Back home from there, you've got your My Cadillac. There is a Cadillac app available for iPhones and for Android devices that's going to let you do things like remote start the vehicle, lock, unlock the doors, and a number of other things. It's a pretty simple app to use. You've got your Google Assistant here too, so you can tap the Assistant button that way if you want to. There's a voice command prompt on the steering wheel. You can press that if you want to, or you can just say, "Hey Google, turn the fan speed up to 2.
All right, changing the fan speed to 2.
So you can adjust things using your voice, and you can control the majority of things using your voice inside of this ride. So you can adjust the climate using your voice. You'd be able to turn on your heated, ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. You could navigate and do so many things using your voice. Your best bet, honestly, is when you first get your vehicle, I'd actually recommend going through the screen and just kind of playing around with different things, because like I said, there are so many things that you can do using your voice there. Next up is audio. You've got USB available, and that's strictly going to be for audio, so it doesn't have support for video playback inside of this ride. You've got a series of other options there for your basic media. Back, you've got your different sound settings that are available where you can adjust out your treble, mid-range, and bass. Something like this is really heavy. So what I'd recommend, play one of your favorite songs and adjust this out until it sounds perfect for you. I had it cranked because I was playing around with it earlier. Something like this I found works well. But what I'd recommend, play one of your favorite songs, and while that song is playing, adjust these out until it sounds perfect for your ears. You can adjust out the balance and fade, so do you want it driver focused, rear focused, center focused, back out to the middle there. And then you've got your sound modes, so same idea, front focused, rear focused. Do you want stereo versus a 3D, more immersive audio experience? There's adaptive volume, so as you're going faster or slower, it's going to raise or lower that volume. You can also manage your radio favorites. So if you've got different stations that are set up as presets, you'd be able to delete or reorganize them as necessary. So let's actually start fresh. I'll show you why in a second here. Delete, delete, and delete. All right, and back. If we go back to our sources now, swipe. You've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, and Bluetooth. So if we go through any of these, you can see we are now completely open for all of our presets. So you could easily tune to stations this way if you want to. Hold on, let's just save our first station in. You can hit this in order to see all of the available stations in your area. And then you can go through and easily star out different stations. So if there are stations that you tend to listen to the most, just go through, save all of your stations in. And once we've got a bunch of these set up, you can tune this way too if you'd like to. Nice and simple. And we've saved in some different stations. Now you can change stations this way. Hey Google, 102.1 FM.
Okay, streaming 102.1 FM.
You can also change stations using your voice, so it's simple doing that. And then if we go to AM for a second, you've got all of your available stations there too. Let's say if we wanted to just save in one of these stations, we've now got the extra station added in. And then if we go to SiriusXM, that gives us some other options. If an artist is playing, you'd be able to pause it. We can play an artist station, look at related content. From there, you've also got this little icon, and it's going to bring up all of your different category views. So if you're a big fan of different music, sports, talk, etc., you can see that. You can hit this icon in order to do tune to start. You've got all of your basic SiriusXM information. Now, one of the nice things about having all of your presets set up is that you can use the buttons here on the steering wheel in order to move up and down between all of your different presets. On top of that, you can hit the button here in order to pull up all of your different audio sources, and then just going up and down to move between AM, FM, SiriusXM, etc. So if you wanted to jump between a different source, you'd have that flexibility. You've got your volume option here. You can push down in order to mute your audio out down there. And then you saw earlier your volume rocker there. Push in order to mute on top of that. Back home, you've got Google Maps available inside of this ride. So this is a Google-based system, which is why you've got all these Google services here. But Google Maps is incredibly easy to use. You can easily search for addresses here, point of interest icons. You can go by GPS coordinates, so latitude first, longitude second. You can search using your voice this way. You can tap here to see different options. So if you wanted to look at some route options, do you want to avoid highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that? You've got offline map capabilities. So if you're going somewhere where you know you're not going to have an active data plan, you'd be able to download maps on top of that. And back, you can mute out alerts. So unmuted means that you're going to get those turn-by-turn alerts with a voice speaking to you. You can completely mute it out, or you can just get alerts. You can change up your heading there. So do you want to be north, up, etc. Full pinch to zoom capabilities. Zoom in or out this way. Recenter it back on you. You can tap this in order to sign into your Google account. And the benefit there, if you've been on your phone and you've been searching for addresses on your phone while signed into your Google account, those addresses that you've searched for are going to get pulled directly into the infotainment system here. So you'd be able to see all of your previously searched for addresses. But let's set up a route. Hey Google, navigate to Tim Hortons.
There's a Tim Hortons 0.3 kilometers away. Want to navigate there?
So I'm just going to tap there because I want to select one that's a little bit further away. Let's go to number 6. Yeah, nice and far. And the reason why, so you can start here, but you've also got this, and you can see different routes to get to that end destination. You can look at some different route options if they were available. You can add in an additional stop. Maybe you don't want to go to Tim Hortons first. You want to go to another destination. So maybe you want to fill up on fuel. You've got that option. Select any of these, add the stop in, and then you can drag around. If you wanted to change up the options there. You can add in multiple destinations. So if you're doing a road trip, you're stopping at 5, 6, 7 different spots, you can add them in, tap done, and then you're going to hit start, and that's going to start the route. So you can see there the route's going. Inside of the cluster screen, you can see your turn-by-turn directions there. If you had a head-up display, you'd also be able to see your turn-by-turn directions there. And then as you move through the different views, so if you take this part of the steering wheel and go up, you can see your full Google Map view. I mean, that full map and cluster looks so cool. And then you can drop down into different driver assistance settings, which still does give you those turn-by-turn directions there. There's a night vision camera. There's AR there too. So you're not going to get, yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it's neat. So the way that the AR section side of things works is that if you've got your factory navigation going, as you go to drive, when you're coming to an upcoming turn, it's going to let you know. So you're going to see something coming on in the cluster screen telling you to turn left, right, whatever the case may be. That view is pretty neat. It's not standard across the board, but it is there. And then to cancel a route, you just hit the X button there to cancel. You can remove just the next stop or fully exit navigation, which just brings us back to this main screen. You can hit search there in order to look at any recently searched for addresses, save stations, things like that. And then if you wanted to minimize this box, you've got that arrow there. You're just going to tap that, and then you've got a fuller screen map. But that's using navigation. It's really straightforward because it's Google based, which means next up is going to be adding in a phone. And actually, what I want to do, start off on Apple CarPlay. So let's go ahead and add in a phone. Now all I want to do to start connecting, just tap phone here and manage phones, and let's add in a new phone. So you can see there, Bluetooth pairing. So just pull up Bluetooth on your device, and we're looking for Cadillac there. Pins match up, so let's go ahead and pair and pair. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm saying no to that one. And it's going to connect over Bluetooth now. So you'd be able to stop here. You can connect over Bluetooth in order to make phone calls and stream audio. But you've also got wireless Apple CarPlay inside of the ride. It is backwards compatible, so you could use a USB cable, whether that's a Type A or a Type C. You're plugging in the armrest in order to do it. But let's use wireless because we've got a wireless charge pad. So just tap Use CarPlay. You have to enable there, and it'll take a second. Perfect. Do you want to allow the vehicle to check for CarPlay apps? Just hit allow there. And you are fully connected to CarPlay right now. You can tap here to go to your little icon view. Tap again to get to this home screen. And then you can hit here or swipe across as necessary. On the top here, you've got your current time, connection, and battery level. These are the apps that were last opened. So your last opened map, audio application, miscellaneous. And then this screen is kind of customizable. So you're always going to have whatever map application was open last. Search box and the audio box will always be there. If you've got a calendar notification coming up to date that hasn't passed, that would show up there. If there's no calendar notification, search and audio would be stretched across the top there. And then swiping across. Now let's say if you can't even get to this step because CarPlay is not working, check down in the description of this video. I've put together a little walkthrough explaining some common CarPlay fixes that you can try. But you can actually customize this screen a few different ways. So if you hit the settings icon there, you can put yourself into driving focus. You can adjust the wallpaper. So maybe you have a preference for different color schemes. You can change it around for something that suits your taste. Then you can also adjust the icon layout here. In order to do it, what you're going to do on your phone, go into Settings, General, and then CarPlay. Find your vehicle. You can forget it. There's enhanced integration, which I'll touch on, and you can also customize. So maybe you want your podcast along the top, and you're a big fan of using a different map application. You can adjust it there. Anything with a minus next to it, you could also remove it from the vehicle. So you can remove a bunch of these apps if you'd like to. If you've played around with the layout too much and you really don't like what you've done, along the top right side of the phone, there's a reset option. So just tap reset, reset, and that brings you back to that factory default layout for the icons. Then you've also got the option of toggling on your Siri Assistant too. So if you push and hold the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, that is going to bring up your Siri Assistant.
Sorry.
A short button push brings up the assistant for the vehicle, but a long push is your phone assistant. And there are a ton of apps inside of this screen. You've got Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze that are all here. Unfortunately, no pinch to zoom capabilities. You could hit here in order to be able to search for different addresses, tap back from there. You could hit this in order to zoom in or out though. So if you wanted to go that route, I personally prefer using Waze because people are pretty good at marking things off. So speed traps and things like that. And you can give drivers a heads up too if there are other obstacles along the route. And then there are other apps. Hoopla's a library app, Live One's a radio app. You've got YouTube Music, strictly YouTube Music. You don't have the option of using YouTube video or any video sources inside of the screen. That's one thing I would like to see, especially when you're parked. Now, one thing that you might have noticed is that when I was in my CarPlay settings, if we go General CarPlay, inside the vehicle, there's enhanced integration. Where that comes into play, let's say if I've got an active route going. So let's just select this. So with an active route going inside of the cluster screen, if you take this button and you push, you've now got Apple CarPlay. It was Google Maps before. So if you tap Apple CarPlay, that's going to push whatever map you've got going right inside of the cluster. The quality isn't really that good. It's there though, which is nice. So you at least have your turn-by-turn directions there. So if you wanted to run off of a different screen on that main part of the infotainment with that map inside of the cluster screen, you've got that option. This is one of the added benefits of the enhanced integration system. And tap back from there, but that's using CarPlay. If you tap the home icon, you can tap CarPlay there, or the CarPlay icon to jump back in, hitting back home again. If you go to Settings, Connections, Phone, well, you can toggle CarPlay off completely if you like, but you can go Phones, and we're connected over CarPlay. You can disconnect CarPlay, reconnect just over Bluetooth. Hitting Options there gives you a few other options, including disconnecting or completely forgetting the device. But that's how you use Apple devices inside of the Escalade. Using Android devices inside of the Escalade is pretty simple. In order to do it, you're going to tap the plus icon here if you're not on the phone screen. From there, what you're going to do, go into your settings, connections, phones, and then just hit the plus icon and let's tap switch phones. If you didn't have another phone connected, that option, it would just connect right to the phone or give you the option of connecting from there. But on your device, we're looking for vehicle name. There we go. PIN numbers match up. So let's go ahead and pair. And it's connecting over Bluetooth. So you can stop here and just use Bluetooth for phone calls and for audio. But you've also got wireless Android Auto. But before that, it's asking, do I want all access to contacts and messages? This is not my car, so I'm saying no there. But let's go ahead and enable wireless Android Auto. It is backwards compatible, so you could use a USB-A or a USB-C cable inside of the armrest. Once you get to this screen, welcome to Android Auto. Let's go ahead and just continue. And there we go, we are launched in. You've got Google Maps built in here, obviously, because we're an Android device. You can swipe across because you've got this little split screen, and then you can hit the little map icon there to go full screen. So full screen versus your little split screen there too. Then along the outside, it's your current connection level along with your battery level. And then you've got your maps with a few other miscellaneous applications from there. You can hit here to activate the Google Assistant for your phone, or long button push and hold on the steering wheel in order to activate your phone assistant that way. You can tap here in order to be able to get into a series of icons. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android device and it's not showing up, check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough on how to add that in. You can also customize the layout of these icons. So if you want to do it, on your Android device, you're going to search for Android Auto, go into Android Auto settings, and once you get into that Android Auto settings screen, so many options. But we're looking for customize launcher, anything with a check mark next to it. So you can customize launcher, so you can either add it back in or you can remove it from the screen. So you're just going to button push there. You can just do a drag and drop there too. So maybe you didn't want Waze along the top, just push and hold in order to drag these into different spots. But for these changes to come into effect, what we're going to do is tap the swap phone icon along the very bottom. You're going to tap the icon there. From there, you're just going to disconnect from Android Auto. You're going to reconnect to Android Auto. And a second later, go back to the icons. The changes that we've made have come into effect. So it's not dynamic, but it's easy enough to be able to adjust these out. If you hit the swap icon there again, you could disconnect from Android Auto, so just reconnecting over Bluetooth. Hit options there in order to show first to connect. So if you've got multiple phones connected to the vehicle, who's it going to try to connect to first? You can disconnect the phone or you can completely forget it. So forget. That phone's been disconnected. Let's do the same thing. So connect or forget. Let's forget. And you're set to go. But that's how you set up phones inside of the Cadillac Escalade. And back up from there, so you've got CarPlay, Android Auto. They're grayed out now because I don't have any phones connected. Obviously, if they weren't grayed out, those would show up. You can tap back here in order to add in another device. You've got your camera that's available here too. So you've got your front view versus back view, and then you've got a series of separate views that are available here too. There's a trailer view that's available. So if you're pulling a trailer, and then you've got your different guideline views that are available. So whether or not those show up. And then if we go here into reverse, you've got your guidelines there. So if you're not a fan of those guidelines, you can easily toggle them off. But I mean, I'm personally a big fan, and they are dynamic. As you rotate the steering wheel, they're going to go left versus right. But I mean, having that camera is great. The side mounted cameras aren't the best quality, but the front back cameras, fantastic. They look great at nighttime. And then one neat thing, when you're in drive, you hit the turn stalk to go left or right. You've got the option of setting it up so that it's going to show you what's going on in your blind spot right inside of that screen. So the quality of that side mounted camera is not the greatest, so I would definitely like to see that upgraded, but it's nice that it's at least there as an option. If you're pulling a trailer, you've got a series of different trailer options. You can see your brakes, light, your weight, and things like that for the trailer. There are a boatload of different settings that are available inside of the ride, which I'll touch on last. You're going to find a bunch of ambient light choices too, so you can toggle it off. You can select a series of different colors. But one thing I love is that you've got the flexibility of linking it to your drive mode. So as you move between different drive modes, the color is going to change out. I just love the look when you're in that sport mode. Oh, it looks so nice. But you've got the flexibility of easily adjusting out the ambient light color there to something different, linking it to the drive mode. You can adjust the style, the brightness, things like that. Back from there, you've got Park Assist inside of the ride. So Auto Park Assist gives you the option for the vehicle to help you out with both parallel and perpendicular parking in and out of spaces. If you want to walk through and actually using Park Assist though, you'll find that walkthrough down in the description of this video. From here, there's a Wi-Fi hotspot that's available inside of the ride. So instead of chewing through the data on your phone, you'd be able to connect to the vehicle directly. It does require an active plan through GM in order to be able to use it. There's an entertainment hub here too. At a minimum, you'll have the entertainment hub at least for that front passenger screen. So that's this one here. So you've got your HDMI. The HDMI port, if you're using that, is located down low, but you've got some different options for the screen. So you can toggle it back off again. So if you wanted to, there we go, turn that screen off, you could. Power it back on. From there, swipe across to give you some different options. Then, this one also has the available head units for the second row seats. So just in behind the driver passenger seat, there are screens there. There are 2 HDMI ports underneath the back in order to be able to utilize those screens. So it's strictly going to be HDMI, but you can set up multiple headphones on each screen. So if you wanted the kids to be able to just do their thing, or you could also play audio, you could lock out the screens too so people can't use them. You've got options for your front screen, your rear screens, and then you've got different setting options that are available there too. Playstore is available here. One of the benefits of signing into the Playstore is that you'd be able to download a bunch of different apps directly to the screen. And the other option, when you're logged in, it also sets this up so that if you search for addresses on your phone while signed into your Google account, it's going to pull those addresses in. There's Alexa, News, Spotify, and then obviously if you were to download more, those would also show up. Which leaves us with all of the available settings, and there are so many options here. Starting off with connections, you've got your phone, you can disable Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. There's your wireless hotspot that's available there too. You've got a series of different vehicle settings, so adjusting your audio out, which we've already seen. You've got drive mode customization, so you've got a series of different drive modes available. So you can select which drive mode that you're in down here. So you just push in order to move between different modes. So there are 5 modes total, but your My Mode there is the one that gives you the flexibility to be able to customize. So hold on, let's go back home for a second here. Into Vehicle, Drive Mode Customization. So you can change out your steering, suspension, engine sound. So it's essentially going to be your My Mode or your individual mode. The main modes should have you covered off enough there. So if we go back through, your Touring Mode is your day-to-day driving. Sport mode gives you the best possible performance. So rather than it shifting at, let's say, 2,500 RPM, it might hold on and shift at 4,000 RPM. And then you've got your off-road mode. It's going to raise the vehicle up. Tow haul mode is there. And then there's also your individual My Mode there too. And then just back to touring. So you're going to be in touring the majority of the time, but you can customize the ride to make it your own if you'd like. There are a series of different options for your doors, locks on top of that. So you've got your power door, which you can have it open up all the way, standard opening or max. Where that comes into play is actually just down this middle screen. So if you go to your icons there, so your little control module, you've got doors, you can actually tap along the top there. And then if you just slide, That can open the door, and then you can also slide in order to close. So how far open or closed do you want these to be? I love that you've got all of these controls available here. Your lock, unlock, glove box opening, so essentially a couple of hot pushes there. It's really neat. And then you've also got your brake to close driver door. So rather than swiping to open or close or hitting the handle here to close, once you get inside, you start up, you can tap the brake and it's automatically going to close the door for you. When do you want your doors to automatically unlock, or do you not want them to? So just off means the doors will never automatically unlock. When you turn the vehicle off, do all doors become unlocked, or just the driver's door? Let's see here. Valet mode is going to lock the screen out. So you enter in a number there, and then the people listening to wouldn't be able to navigate through the infotainment system. Teen driver lets you set up some limitations to an individual key fob. Rear seat reminder, if those second row doors have been opened up and then you turn the vehicle off, go to hop outside, it's going to give you a message in the cluster screen letting you know to check the back seats. Buckle to drive. When you first start the vehicle up, you got to put it into drive. You wouldn't be able to drive away until you're buckled in. Eventually, it's going to let you go anyways, but I just keep that one turned off. There's Super Cruise lane change. So inside of the vehicle, there are 3 different types of cruise control. There's normal cruise, there's adaptive, and then there's Super Cruise. You can control it using the buttons on the outside here. So you can toggle the system on by pushing this. And you can see there you've got an icon, so that means that the system's enabled. You push down to set, increase or decrease, 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time, push and hold up or down in order to increase at larger increments. But like I said, 3 types of cruise. So if you take your cancel button there, what you're going to do, if you push and hold, that is going to put you into regular cruise. Push and hold again to get into the adaptive. So regular cruise is exactly that. You set it at 80. The car in front of you slows down. Yours will not brake. With the adaptive cruise, that's where the gap adjustment here comes into play. So it's how close or far are you away from that leading vehicle. I'm personally okay on level 1. You might want to be on level 2 or 3, just depending on your comfort level. And then there's also Super Cruise. So the way that comes into play, you tap this. If it's available, you'll find a little steering wheel pop up somewhere inside of the cluster screen, depending on which view that you're on. When it's available, that's going to be white. And then from there, it's going to go green. Well, you tap the button here, and then this part of the steering wheel is going to go green, letting you know that the Super Cruise system is enabled. And then it's full hands-free driving from there. So you can take your feet off the gas and the brake, hands off the steering wheel. The vehicle does everything for you. It's amazing. But that's where this Super Cruise lane change comes into play. So you've got 3 different versions here. So off means that if you want to change lanes, you hit the turn stalk and you manually shift over. With turn signal activated, you hit the turn signal to go left or right. It's going to check to see if there's anybody in the left or right lanes. And then when it's safe to do so, it's going to automatically change lanes for you. Automatic takes that to the next level. So you can still use turn signal activated, but let's say if you're driving and the vehicle in front of you is going too slow with the Super Cruise system turned on. What it's going to do is hit the turn stalk for you to change lanes automatically. It's going to pass that vehicle, and then it's going to put the turn signal back on to get back into that lane, depending on the traffic conditions. It is a phenomenal system. But if you want a live demonstration of using cruise control, you'll find it down in the description of this video. See, there's your turn signal activated view, which we saw that. So if you're out of park, that's going to be your turn signal activated view. So does that show up, yay or nay? Climate control, available here too. So when you go to start the vehicle up, you've got your heated ventilated seats on at startup, defog, defrost. All of your other climate control settings are done just in that lower screen, which I'll touch on after the main infotainment walkthrough here. Series of different options for collision detection, braking avoidance, things like that. Now, some of these things, when you disable the system, it's going to give you weird messages right there inside of the cluster screen. That just lets you know that there's a safety setting that's been disabled. So I recommend just keep all of these safety settings turned on unless you're going on a track. They're good systems overall. Let's see, Park Assist with braking. So as you go to back up, getting into a spot, whatever the case may be, if there's something in behind you don't see, it can brake for you. If you're backing up and something's coming perpendicular, so from the left or the right side, it can let you know of a potential collision. If there's a pedestrian back there, it's going to give you a heads up and let you know. Driver attention assist, so if you start to doze off, if you're looking like you're not paying attention, it's going to let you know that you should probably take a break. You can toggle that bad boy off. Lighting that's available, so the exterior choreography. When you walk up to the vehicle, you remote start, unlock the doors, etc. It looks really really nice at nighttime. The choreography dance is fantastic. But you can change that off so that it's just static so it comes on, or there's no choreography whatsoever. But yeah, the look of it at nighttime, I think it makes it worth it. Remote lock, unlock, and start. So when you go to unlock the vehicle, do you get lights? When you go to lock, do you want to know that you've actually locked? So I normally recommend at least the horn, but you can go either way. So at least that way you know you've actually locked the vehicle. When you go to unlock, do all doors become unlocked or just the driver's door? When you remote start on the fob, do the heated or ventilated seats come on automatically just based off of the outside temperature? There's window operation there too, so you can use the key fob to do some pretty neat tricks. There's, let's see, door unlocks, etc. So let's actually hop outside and I'll show you how a few of these things work. So in order to remote start, what you're going to do is push the lock button once and the circle button twice. So you just go lock, circle, circle. And you can see there we're started up. In order to cancel the remote start, push and hold that circle button again. And then you've got a few other options. You could double push the bottom button here in order to pop open the glass for the vehicle. And then you can open up the trunk a few different ways. So you can push the big Cadillac button in the back there to do it. You can double push the button there to do it. There's also a proximity sensor base. And that's going to depend on which model year. So this is the 2025. So you walk up towards the back end with the fob and that lift gate's going to open up. You might have to swipe your foot underneath just depending on the model year. But through the fob, button push twice on the outside there in order to pop it open. And then you can also set your own custom height. So from there, all you're going to do is drag to whatever height you'd like to. You then just push and hold the button here for a few seconds. Can you hear that chime? And now it's locked into place, so it wouldn't open up past that point. If you're running into any liftgate issues, so the key fob's not working, check down in the description of this video for some things that you can try. Then, one other thing that you can do, and that's utilizing the key fob in order to roll the windows up and down. To do it, double push the unlock button, and you're going to hold on the second press. So go 1, 2, and hold. Watch this. Down they go. Release as they start going down, and that's going to roll the windows down. All 4. To roll them back up, push the lock button twice and then hold on the second press. So 1, 2, and hold. Back up they go. And again, all 4 windows. I love it. Love that it's both back up and down for those windows. You can adjust the ride height here. So you've got easy entry exit for the vehicle height, which means that you get out of the vehicle, it's going to lower it down, hop in, it might raise it up a little bit for you. And then just to the outside here, you can also lower or raise the vehicle. You might have to be in 2 high, 4 low, etc. in order for different heights to be achieved, but you can easily adjust it out this way. And I mean, the ride height, it gets up there quite a bit. So if you're going off-road, that is available. Your steps, so your deployable running boards, you can have it automatically come out. So when you open up the door, it's going to automatically deploy the running boards. You can stow them, or you can have them deployed on top of that, so they're always down. Where I would say keep them down, if you live somewhere where you get snow a few months out of the year, I recommend keeping them down at that point. You can adjust your seating position for easy entry exit memory. So as you go to turn the vehicle off, it's actually going to back the seat up for you to get in and out a little bit easier. You do have the option for seat memory though too. So what you're going to do, adjust your driver's seat along the side. Once you have it set, hit set. 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. So if somebody's played around with the seat settings, you would just push and hold in order to reset it to whatever your profile is. You can adjust your suspension there too for service mode and alignment mode. You're not going to have to worry about that. And then there's also transport mode too. Let's see, that's it for vehicle. There's notifications that are available, so you can toggle notifications off for different apps if you'd like to. There are app options available here, so you can see which apps are available inside of the ride. Most of that, honestly, it's going to be advanced for most people. You can adjust the date and time. Do you want to be in that 12 versus 24-hour mode? So do you prefer that military time? And then time zone and the date and time here are grayed out because you're in the auto mode. You're going to be in the auto mode the majority of the time unless you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone and it constantly flips you back and forward. So you could easily adjust it out there, go automatic, and that's the same thing for the date and time. Got some different options for the display where you can go into a light versus dark mode, or auto means that the vehicle is going to determine whether you're in the light or the dark, just depending on how bright it is outside. And then you can toggle the display off, back on again. You can adjust out some sound levels, so your volumes for each individual option here. So do you want your navigation volume lower, your ringtone or audio volumes high, low, whatever the case may be. So you can adjust the majority of the volumes here. Start at volume maximizer. If you've got your audio cranked, you're rocking out, turn the vehicle back on. What level do you want the audio to be at that point? Profile info if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle. There's some accessibility options for captions. There's an assistant and voice, where if we hit the settings icon, you can choose different languages for your assistant. You can toggle this on, so, hey Google, if you wanted to be able to adjust things like climate, things like that. Do you want to get suggestions? Do you want to get a message summary as they come in? Then you've got a bunch of system information where you can adjust out the system language for the infotainment system here. What keyboard do you want to use? And then your measurement units. So you can change out between either US or metric. This is one of the benefits of it being a fully digital cluster. As you go to adjust it, changes it out. And then even down low with our climate, as you go between US or metric, it changes everything out automatically. And then you've got this lower screen that gives you so many other options too. So you've got all of your climate control settings. You can tap here in order to get to all of your options for heated ventilated seats. You've got your heated steering wheel too. You can tap here for massage chair seats. You can adjust out the position of the seat here too. So if you wanted to adjust things out and fine tune it a little bit more, adjusting the seat bolsters and things like that, you've got that flexibility. So there's a few different switches along the side in order to really customize that part of the seat. That's the same thing once you've got it set up, you could then save your individual position this way, different adjustments, etc. Jumping back, you've got your basic climate control settings there, some advanced settings, which it's always going to default to this screen. So even if you're on any of the other screens, eventually it'll default to this. So you've got your defog, defrost modes, your sync up, you want to control the rear climate, etc. You can adjust it out. So you can adjust it out this way, or by using your voice, which we saw earlier. Actually, that's probably a bad idea. It's a little bit warm outside. Adjusting your fan speed that way. You can hit here in order to look at your different cabin options for airflow front versus back. So do you want it going to windshield face feet? Hitting this brings you into your different temperature options again. So you'll see a few of these things in a few different spots. You've got your basic controls here, where you've got your parking, doors, etc. We'll touch on that one last. You've got all of your different lighting options. If we hop back, you'll have more advanced options. So what I'd recommend, keep yourself in the auto high beam mode with the auto headlamps on. And the reason why, because at nighttime, if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, turns them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before turning them right back on again. At nighttime, if you want to permanently lock them out, you can push away and that's going to do it, but you can't lock your high beams out during the daytime. Unfortunately, you can flash them, no problem. So if you wanted to lock your high beams out all the time regardless, go into the headlamp mode there along the very bottom. From there, push away to turn them on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. It's just that you're going to be in the auto mode the majority of the time. You've got your lane keep assist there too, so you can toggle that off. So the lane keep assist, the way that works, if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, as long as the lanes are recognized there, so you'll see that go green when they're recognized, start to veer over, it'll nudge you back into your lane. You've got the option of adjusting your camera, so you press that camera button in order to be able to get to all of your different views. And back from there, hide the camera. And then you've got Park Assist and Auto Park Assist are funny. So Park Assist is that beeping that you get as you get closer to obstacles, versus Auto Park Assist is going to be your full Park Assist system, where it can help out with both parallel and perpendicular parking. And then you've got your doors, which, I mean, glove box open and close the doors using this. You're just going to kind of swipe in order to open or close. Glove box, lock, unlock, etc. And then, actually, if we go back to doors for a second, you've got this. If you hit this, go to settings, it's going to pull up additional settings inside of the upper infotainment system. Back down into all of these. And it has so many different options. So options for safety, child locks, window locks, etc. Conversation enhanced means that it's going to pick up the speakers so that people in the back can hear you better. You can lock out all of your rear controls on top of that. Driving options, you've got options for disabling traction control or the lane assist, so you can tap there or there to turn it off. Traction control, the only time you want to turn that off, very slippery, snowy conditions where you're not getting good wheel traction. If you're off-roading, things like that, so it's just going to give you better overall handling. Doors and windows, same idea, open and close a few different things. All of your lights, which we've seen. Universal remote, so if you've got a garage door opener at home, you'd be able to easily program that in. There's your head-up display here too. So the head-up display, you can toggle it off completely if you'd like to, but it's blinking right now just because of the difference in frame rate. It definitely does not look like that in person, but you can adjust the brightness. I always recommend just keeping it at maximum brightness there. You can adjust the height. So does it sit high versus low? So you can adjust out the height there, and you can adjust out the rotation. So if you sit one way or the other on the seat, you can adjust it out that way too. If you've got a route going, it does show up in that head-up display. And then let's say if the infotainment system's giving you problems. So Android Auto's not working, Apple CarPlay's not working, or any of these screens have frozen up. You could do a full factory reset, but the downside there, under System Reset, it's going to essentially get rid of everything from the infotainment system. So erase all of your profiles, phones that have been connected, presets, things like that. What you want to do is a soft screen reboot. In order to do it, on the steering wheel, you've got your hang up button there. You're going to take that button and you're going to push and hold for about 10 to 12 seconds or so. So just keep on hanging on. It's going to feel like you're going crazy, but just keep on hanging on. And eventually, inside of the infotainment system, you'll hit this screen. From here, you can enter recovery mode or do a full factory reset, but just do nothing. And after a second here, you'll see that it flips off. So recovery mode, what that's going to do is disable any apps that you've installed, or then you could perform that full factory reset. But outside of that, what we're doing here is a soft reboot, very similar to doing a reboot on your phone. So, I mean, these things are computers. So you do eventually have to clear the cache out, which is what we just did there. So that should solve the majority of issues that you're facing. If it doesn't, you're going to go back into your settings, system, reset, and then do a full reset instead. So try it in safe mode first, get rid of any apps that you've installed, or just do a full factory reset. So soft screen reboot first, full reboot second, so the full erase infotainment data. If that doesn't work, the third option is going to be bringing it into your dealer for them to check out, see what's going on. So I know that is a heck of a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the infotainment system inside of the Cadillac Escalade.